soft. It's so soft, it's so soft, you could lay your head down on it, like this. See? Want to lay your head down on the pillow?
Lay down?
It's very, very soft.
Can you say soft?
Can you say soft? Soft.
Right here, I wish that we'd positioned ourselves so that we could see Alea's face better, because that way we could get a better indication of what's making her feel uncomfortable and what's making her feel more comfortable. Right here, I'm having Alea feel my sweater for another example, another instance of soft. And in hindsight, I wish that I'd had Brother Wilson bring one of her sweaters so that it was an article of clothing that she was already familiar with.
But like the pillow and like the sweater, it's soft. Feel how soft and fuzzy it is? Want to wear my scarf? It's very soft on your neck, huh? Don't want it?
What I was trying to convey with using 3 different items for soft was that they all have the correlational feature of being soft, because obviously they're each different articles. Well, 2 of them are articles of clothing and 1 of them is a pillow, but they all have the correlational feature of being soft. And so I don't know if it was initially all that effective, but I think towards the end she started to understand.
This one's fuzzy, huh? I like this one because it's so soft. So something that's different from things that are soft are things that are hard, like this glass jar.
So this was one of the biggest mistakes I made, I think, in thinking that Alea would not be distracted by things being in the glass jar, which of course she was. When I showed her the jar, she wasn't interested at all in the jar at first. She just wanted to look at the things in it. So were I to do it again, I would definitely make sure that the jar was empty before I brought it out to her.
I could touch my head with it. I could hit myself in the head with it because it's soft. It doesn't hurt. But this, would I want to hit myself in the head with this? No, it would hurt because it's hard. Huh? So one more time. It's hard.
Hard. Hard.
Hard. Something else that's hard?
So this was another thing I wish that I had done differently,
Very hard. Like
just because when I got to the class to teach my lesson, I realized I'd forgotten to collect one of my hard items. I was going to get a rock for one of my other items, and I ended up having to use the bowl. Wouldn't have been too problematic, except it had my syrup for later in the lesson inside of it. And so I'm worried that it created a little bit of a misconception in Alea's mind, because I used the bowl for hard, but then I used what was inside the bowl for sticky. And once again, I'm irritated at myself for the camera positioning, because right here we can't see Alea's face at all.
Very hard, huh? But it's funny because this is glass, but it's hard. This is wood, but it's hard. This is plastic, but it's hard. Okay, let's try something else. We're going to try something that's sticky. See what I have in the bowl? It's syrup.
The reason I chose positive instances for sticky like syrup and later tape and glue is because I figured these were more likely to be in her schema than some other things, but I was worried to choose something like a lollipop or any kind of candy, which we did actually end up using later, because I was worried that it might distract her.
We'll wash that off my fingers real quick so I don't get any more sticky on you. Hand me your hand, I'll get the sticky off right there. Well, I have a couple other things that are sticky, like the syrup. We have, this is some tape. Did you feel that? That's sticky like the syrup, only a little different, but they're both sticky.
Can you say sticky?
Can you say sticky?
This was where I was really glad to have Brother Wilson here. I was starting to get a little flustered at this point, and I sort of subconsciously had decided not to try to have her say the words anymore. Didn't do this intentionally, so fortunately Brother Wilson was there, and he was there to reinforce that idea, which was good. And then I tried to remember to have her at least try to say the words later.
Like the pillow, we touch it, nothing comes off. We touch it and nothing comes off. The table is very hard. We touch it, nothing comes off. But if I were to touch that, oh, look at that. I have sticky all over my hands. It's gross, huh? It's gross. Very, very sticky. So then we have to wipe it off. We don't have to do that with things that are hard or soft. Just sticky. Just sticky. So we'll wipe that off so that I don't get any more sticky stuff on you. Okay. I have one more thing, and this one's kind of different from the others. This one's kind of different. We have things that are sharp. So I'm gonna start with
This is where I wanted to be really careful. I was keeping Maslow's hierarchy of needs in mind. I didn't want Alea with the sharp objects to feel that she was going to be unsafe or might come to physical harm.
Be careful with sharp things. Owie, it can hurt us. Sharp things can be hurtful. When you say sharp, sharp, it's kind of. We also have, this is a knife. Knives are very, very dangerous, so we want to leave them to Mommy and Daddy. So maybe we'll let Daddy hold the knife.
Saying that knives and sharp objects should only be handled by Mommy and Daddy is an overgeneralization. However, because of Alea's young age, I figured it would be appropriate, since I don't want her to get the impression from my lesson that she should be handling sharp objects such as knives, which can easily be found around the house.
Maybe hold it. Feel it right there. It's kind of sharp. I just touch it real lightly, right there. It's kind of sharp, kind of pokey, can cause owies. So we have to be really careful, huh? We don't want to hurt ourselves on the sharp things, do we? No, we don't. So let's go back over them real quick. We got things, Alea. We got things that are soft.
Alea's pretty much checked out at this point. She's having a hard time focusing because now I'm just going back over things that I've already handled. I was panicking a little bit at this point because I'd covered more than I'd anticipated in a short amount of time. And so what I ended up doing is I had to change tactics a little bit. She was holding a dum-dum, and it was kind of distracting her, and so I decided to use the dum-dum as an example of sticky, which, even though it was still a little distracting throughout the rest of the lesson, it ended up, I think, helping her understand the concept a little bit more.
It's sticky. It gets sticky. Yeah. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to pull out some few more items to see if we can tell which ones are which. So I have my teddy bear.
This is another instance of where I'd had Brother Wilson bring something of Alea's. I wish that I'd told him to bring one of Alea's teddy bears, because at first she really liked the idea of hugging my teddy bear, but after a few moments she experienced a little bit of disequilibrium. You know, this is a strange bear, I don't know where it's been, and then she shrugged away from it a little bit. So I think it might have been a little bit more effective if we'd used one of her teddy bears. This was a problem. Initially, when I went through the 4 textures, I started with soft, then I went hard, sticky, sharp. In this recap, I went from soft to sharp. I got a little flustered. I was experiencing a little bit of debilitating anxiety, and so I just went with the sharp. But I wish that I had stuck with my initial pattern that I had set up. This next section was the starting of a little bit of assessment, which was kind of tricky, not only because of her young age, but because she was very hesitant to speak at first. And right here is a little bit of failure to store, because I say, is this sticky? Like, this is sticky, and she shakes her head no. And it's hard to determine whether she just didn't understand my question or she didn't fully understand the concept. But right here, Brother Wilson introduces this wonderful tactic, and he puts the sticky note on his forehead, and so she begins to understand the idea of sticking as we use that word repeatedly.
Gonna get it? Sticky.
Sticky.
Sticky. And right here? Sticky.
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 Want one? Yes, Daddy.
Sticky.
Sticky. Stick into our foreheads, huh? Yeah. And what was the last thing we talked about? What was the last one?
So this is a problem I had because I wasn't able to set up as much as I would have liked to before starting my lesson. We just kind of came into the room and I hurried and set everything up. And so I didn't have the chair ready, and so I had to pull it over and we had to move her around, which sort of put her into some disequilibrium because for the entirety of the lesson she'd just been sitting in the one place, and now all of a sudden she has to up and move, and it wasn't a very good chair because it was actually kind of soft. So if I were to do it again, I'd definitely make sure I had a chair there and ready that she'd already seen, and I would have gotten a chair that was harder than soft.
4 things that we talked about. Let's go over it. Let's go over it again. Okay, we're gonna go over them one more time. So Leia, what's your sucker that you're is that sticky? No? Isn't it kind of gooey? It's kind of sticky.
So this is where I decided I was going to go back through all of my prototypes and positive instances, and focusing back in, trying to help her remember specifically the differences between soft, hard, sticky, sharp, because she still didn't seem to have a full concept of what each one was.
You want to try the bear one more time? The teddy bear? Very soft.
Having Alea's mother, wow, I don't remember her name, come in was actually really nice because it sort of, even though it caused a little bit of disequilibrium, it, I guess, sort of shook up the environment a little bit, and she was very encouraging in a way that made Alea a little more active, and then she was finally willing to try saying the words.
Good job. That was awesome. And then we had
say a word. She's nervous.
And then we had the jar that was very hard. Oh, ow. The jar that's hard.
With Mom's encouragement, she's starting to trust me and my objects a little bit more, and she's getting more involved.
Oh yeah, it's hard.
And we had the table that was hard.
Oh, that's hard.
What I tried to do at this point in the lesson was just go back over all of the things we already covered by reintroducing to her the positive instances that we'd already used and all the prototype textures that I'd used earlier, going back through the original order that I used instead of mixing it up like I did partway through the lesson. Because with this age, I think especially repetition is really good, and especially at this point in the lesson, she's a lot more active, she's a lot more open. Part of that probably has to do with her mother's presence, but part of that I think also has to do with the dum-dum.
And then we had the glue that was sticky.
Oh yeah.
Sticky. So when we have sticky stuff, what do we need to do? We need to wash off our hands. Wash off the glue and the syrup. And the sucker. And then there was one more we talked about, one more that we said we wanted Mommy and Daddy to handle. And those were sharp.
I love the look on her face coming up right. There it is. Kind of concerned about the knife. Kind of concerned for Mom's safety. But then she gets super excited and happy about it.
And what other things did we have? We had the tacks. Be very careful. Yeah, they're not scary. They just gotta be
I use a little bit of cueing right there where I point at her, and if you watch her face, it kind of drops a little bit, and I think she maybe thinks that I'm scolding her a little bit, or that I'm saying that sharp objects are scary, which is actually the opposite of what I was trying to do.
Let Mommy and Daddy hold those two. What was the other? Oh yeah. And then we had sometimes plastic and other things that aren't metal can be sharp too, like a broken hanger.
Ouch. Yeah, we have those at our house.
Yeah.
In the coat closet.
They're sharp.
People step on them. Oh, sorry.
So those are our 4 textures.
Oh,
Good job, Elaine. You did such a good job. And now I want you to enjoy your sticky sucker.
Say thank you. Say thank you for the sticker. Thank you. Oh, she can say thank you really well. That was perfect.